Hello, Steven. How's it going?
Good, Matt. How are we doing today?
Excited to talk a little bit about cloud-based CAD and a little bit of SolidWorks as well, as always.
Yeah. Are you? Wow, you
Absolutely.
definitely are excited. Man, look at those smiles. Man, I don't, there's a lot of teeth in that smile from me, so I must have been excited when we put this topic together as well.
Anytime I hear 3D experience, that's the face I'll show.
Big cheese and smile. Yeah, my
Uh,
name's Steven Wieringa. I'm the president over here at Swift Solutions, where we're helping to guide businesses on the 3D Experience platform, and specifically 3D Experience SolidWorks and the xApps.
and my name is Matthew Fontana. I'm the application engineer here. So I'm on the technical side of things, diving into how it can be used and helping you with support along the way when you start using them. So, to give everybody a little bit of introduction, we're going to be talking about cloud-based CAD today, and that's on the 3D Experience platform. You'll hear us talk about 3D Experience over and over again here at Swift Solutions. That's our focus. So what is 3D Experience? It's a cloud-based platform. Dassault Systems has all these brands. They're putting the power of all of these brands together. So they have design, simulation, manufacturing. All of that power is going together in one cloud-based platform. So what are the xApps? The xApps are the browser-based apps that are on the platform, and that's a growing portfolio. So there's a number of different apps. We're going to take an in-depth look at a couple today and then mention some of the other ones available, and there will be surely more and more developments with that to come as time goes on. It is completely cloud-based, so it's a thin client. It's run completely within your browser, so whether you're on a tablet, a phone, computer, as long as that has a compatible browser, you will be able to run these xApps within that as long as you have an internet connection. Some of the more common ones, the two specifically that we'll be going over today, are xDesign and xShape, and those will be the parametric modeling side of things and subdivisional modeling side of things. So let's start taking a look at xDesign, also known as 3D Creator, and that's the parametric modeling side of things, which is you're going to draw out a sketch, you're going to have that sketch defined, and you're going to have features like extrude, sweeps, loss. And if you're a SolidWorks user, that'll be very familiar to your standard solid modeling that you'd be carrying out in the SolidWorks interface. So jumping right into xDesign, it's right in your browser, as you can see, right inside of Chrome. You can open up a new component. You can choose where that's going to be saved. And then once you're opening that component, it will create it and insert it into that database. Once that opens up, you will see an interface somewhat familiar to SolidWorks. If you're a SolidWorks user, you're going to have your design manager over on the left. You have your sketch tools, which are very familiar, and the icons are even familiar, so you're able to jump right in. Learning curve is taken right down. You're able to jump into extrudes, extrude cuts, revolves, lofts, or fillets, hole wizards even there. You can jump into some surfacing tools, and that even goes beyond into assemblies as well. So you're able to insert other components. You have all of your standard mates for mating these components together. You even have some evaluation tools like clearance check, and built into all of these is the data management side of things too. So you have your revision tools, your reservation. You're able to collaborate really well with your team. Jumping into a workflow, you're able to sketch on a plane just like you would if you were in SolidWorks, and then you're able to, like you always should, fully define your sketch. So make sure you fully define your sketch as you're moving along in your modeling process.
No blue lines.
Absolutely not. I will not accept it. Then you go ahead and choose your extrudes, your cuts, whatever you want to have it as a feature. You, just like SolidWorks, you now have that feature in your interface. Now with the xApps, there is something that's specifically xDesign. There is something called super features where you're able to change a feature after the fact. So if you've ever had a situation where you draw out a sketch and then you say, make it into an extrude, which is what's going to happen here. We're going to make this into an extrude accidentally. Whoops, I meant to cut into that, and now I have to delete that feature. The sketch is still there. If you had it in SolidWorks, you delete the feature. The sketch is still there, but why not just switch it to a cut? So here you're able to have a super feature, and instead of having to redo that whole feature, you're able to just revert it back into whatever you meant originally. So that's just a really quick glimpse at xDesign. So for a lot of people with the basic 3D modeling capabilities, you're going to be able to carry on right over from SolidWorks and jump right into xDesign on whatever device you're on and just start modeling away and making all your parts and assemblies.
Now, I didn't want to stop you, but you jumped in right away and you mentioned saving your data and cloud data management. So just to be clear, I can not only use this app anywhere, but yet I have access to my data anywhere.
Absolutely. Your data is cloud stored, secure, and it's not just stored on the cloud. You have your PLM built into that as well. So your revision control, your lifecycle management, you can even do branching off to do some concepting. All of that's built into the power of the 3D Creator role, which houses the xDesign app. You'll be all built right into this app here.
Awesome.
So let's take a look at xShape. For people involved in SolidWorks, xDesign was probably quite familiar. xShape will be a whole new concept to SolidWorks users. It's using a subdivision modeling approach, wherein traditionally, to create those aesthetically pleasing industrial design type, you'd have to get really good at surfacing, a lot of curves and sketches all over the place to make the surfaces just right. So with xShape, you're able to say have a enclosure that you want to build. You can have the geometry there that you're going to build it around, add a virtual hunk of clay, and then you can choose how refined you want that mesh to be in the 3 dimensions. So you can go and choose if you want a more refined in one direction versus the other. Once you have it all set, you can position it as needed and then place it into the geometry itself. Now, once you have it in there, you'll see that it's a number of nodes and loops and everything, and you can make it a little, you can change the opaqueness to see through right to your geometry and start pushing and pulling right around that geometry. So with parametric surfacing, you would have had to have all the sketch lines, and then updating it would be even worse. So with this, you're able to just start pushing and pulling as needed. And not only can you just push and pull the original geometry that you had in there, you can start going in and selecting certain faces and edges, and then you can actually add or remove material from that. So here, let's just go ahead and extrude that out a little bit, add some more material where we need some more material, and then you can go back and start pushing and pulling that new material as well. So that gives you a lot of flexibility to create this type of geometry really quickly.
I like what you did there, flexibility. Yep.
Yep, always flexing. There's actually a tool, that's the flex tool right in here. This is all C2 surface continuity, so right off the bat, you're going to have really nice smooth surfaces, but you don't always want that, so you can go ahead and crease that edge if you want, and you can actually choose how defined you want that crease, and you can come in and make it a sharp edge or a slightly sharp edge, and then once you have it how you want it, you can choose it, and you'll actually have signification by the color of the line that it is a crease edge, and it's not C2 surface continuity anymore in that area. And in addition to just creasing the edge as a hard sharp edge, you can actually choose to have a softer filleted edge there, where it's still got like a sharper edge, but it's a filleted still. So once you have that, you may realize that there are some areas that you didn't have as defined as you want. You can add material, we've seen that. And what if you want to have a little bit more definition in a certain area? And that's where subdivision comes in. So you can further subdivide these to get more definition into certain specific areas. And now you have more faces to mess with and more precision. And that allows you can add additional loops and everything as you're going. So starting simple and building up as you're going is a great tactic. And here you can see that there's now a nice smooth surface that with traditional surface modeling could have taken a lot of time. And even if it was relatively quick, how long does it take if somebody wants a change to that? So you have to go in and find which sketch you made that feature with, tweak that sketch and hope that everything doesn't blow up. Or if you change something upstream, hope it doesn't mess something up downstream, so on and so forth. And here we can see now that it's nice and opaque, you can see what it looks like without these lines here. And we have a nice smooth surface.
Nice. That's awesome, Matt. So you're doing an enclosure here, but what it looks like is that this is still, a solid part.
Yep. So that's the thing with, you have your subdivisional modeling. That's just you're overall shape there, and you can dive into some shelling features and everything right within xShape, but if you pair it with the power of xDesign, you can dive even further into the parametric features of adding to these bodies. So let's take a look at that right now. And jumping into that same enclosure, you'll see here that I can choose right from xDesign, right from in that window. That's just one hotkey, and I switch environments. So right here, it doesn't look like much changed, but if you look at the toolbar down at the bottom, now all of a sudden I have those parametric features available again, and I can toss those geometries back and forth. So I'm able to actually go ahead and shell that geometry and choose the thickness of the material that I'd like to shell it to. And you can go even further beyond that. You can add any cuts or holes. So let's go ahead and add a cut, and you would follow the exact same procedure as if this was a solid body modeled in any other way. You can add your sketch, and what happens when you add a sketch?
You define it, Matt.
Yep, you gotta have it fully defined. So no blue lines, or I will kick you out of the class. So once that's all defined, we can choose our feature that we want to do. So let's go ahead and cut right through the end of this for any receivers that have to go into this enclosure. And you will have the same dialog windows as if the part was modeled right within xDesign itself.
Ooh, nice job, you did a cut that time.
Yep, I knew what I was doing. But if I didn't, it would be real easy to switch it right to a cut right from those super features. So what happens if you want to use this within SOLIDWORks? Especially with 3DEXPERIENCE SOLIDWORks, we'll mention that a little bit further. But the 3DEXPERIENCE SOLIDWORks is an offer. It combines the power of SOLIDWORks, and it actually has xShape and xDesign included in those offers somewhere. So you're able to potentially pair the power of these, but what does that look like? So when you open up something from xDesign or xShape into SOLIDWORks, this is what it'll look like. So you're able to actually open up that geometry, but the feature tree itself is still linked back to the original parent of CAD modeling. So it's just a linked body within SOLIDWORks, but as long as you don't break that link, you can go back into whatever app this was designed in. In our case, well, either xDesign or xShape, and you can make the relative changes there, but we'll jump back into xShape here, and we see that the geometry's changed in SOLIDWORks. They added some more components, so we need to stretch this out a little bit further to actually encompass those components. So you can jump right back into xShape, and you can choose the orientation of your triad to make sure you're getting a nice clean sweep there, and you can sweep it over to make sure those components are enclosed. And you can stretch it out on the other side. I missed a component there on the first time, and smooth out the bottom a little bit. So once this goes into SOLIDWORks, you can make cuts in SOLIDWORks and export it off, but it wouldn't be the workflow that you'd be saving it back up to the platform. So if you're making true cuts and geometry that you want to stay in the cloud-based storage, you're going to make it relative to its parent app. So if the component was designed in SOLIDWORks, you'd make the changes in SOLIDWORks. If the component was made in the xApps, you'd come back to the xApps and make the changes.
And what I'm noticing is it's just a simple, open. It's not like an export and then re-import into the xApps. It's just, open from your dialog.
And right there, that's all it takes to update it within the SOLIDWORks window. You just right click and reload from server. And since that data is all tied to the same storage method, just like you mentioned, you don't have to re-export it and re-pull it in. You just reload it from the server, and now all of a sudden in SOLIDWORks it has that updated geometry. So even though you might not be making the changes right within SOLIDWORks, the workflow is really clean.
Yeah, and one thing that I find interesting too, with even as you're switching between SOLIDWORks and the xApps, is it doesn't matter. You don't have to be the only one that's designing the parts. Maybe you have a specialist that's working in xShape, or a specialist that's working in maybe a different xApp, and you're running SOLIDWORks, and you can just reload from server and you're loading in their enclosure data.
Yeah, and that's part of the tools that are built into that PLM thing, because there's a whole reservation system built in. So if you're working with a team and you don't want somebody to make any changes to a model while you're working on it, you can reserve that data, and that's now read-only to them. They can't make any changes. Only you can save changes up to the data storage.
Got it. Now, Matt, you went through that super fast. So we went through 3D Creator and 3D Sculptor just from a really high level, giving you guys just a taste of what those two roles or xApps can do for your company and your business, how you might be able to use it in your workflow. So let's go even faster through the remaining ones here, Matt. We even have there's a lot of capabilities from the xApps, and it's kind of interesting because you think about the xApps, but they're actually, defined as different roles, which I know are listed here. And that's very convenient, right? Because I like to think about, as you're looking at the different roles, as different specialists within an organization or different specialists on a project. So we have them listed out here, but let's jump right in. So we talked a little bit about 3D Creator and 3D Sculptor, but let's jump right into the next role, which would be the 3D Sheet Metal Creator, which the app then would be xSheet. And really, this one kind of hits home to my story and my background, because I spent a lot of time in the sheet metal world, and honestly a lot of time in the little sheet metal tab on my ribbon in SolidWorks. And if it wasn't a feature that I could either cut with a laser, with turret, or form on a brake press, really I didn't need it, so it would get removed from my SolidWorks. So there are a lot of things, just as you looked at, SolidWorks Professional at the time, you looked at all the different SolidWorks features. Potentially I didn't use them, especially on a daily basis. Yeah. So this one really hits home. So this is 3D Sheet Metal Creator, and really gets your specialist, whether you're a sheet metal designer, all the tools that you need to design in sheet metal, and you're doing all of that from the cloud, right? So as Matt mentioned, these are thin client solutions where you won't need, if you're a sheet metal shop, you won't need to go through and purchase those heavy duty laptops or different desktop computers to be able to run SolidWorks on your computer, where you can run these right in your browser. And export capabilities are there. So if you go through, you're as a sheet metal designer, you want to go through, get that flat pattern so that you can send it out to the laser cutter, or like I said, brake press, and that's what you can do here with Sheet Metal Creator. Next on the list, we had 3D Mold Creator, which, Matt, I wonder, what do you think the 3D Mold Creator specialist is? What do you think they're doing?
I don't know, maybe mold removal, going through, checking the structures.
So Mold Creator, it's exactly what it sounds like, right? You're going through, you're designing functionality for molds, whether it's the mold core, cavity, insert geometry, you're compensating for shrink, you're checking for drafts and undercuts. You're a specialist in mold design, and this is where you're going to live. This is your role. And whether we're talking through a lot of different roles and specialties, but in reality, you can assign specific individuals at your organizations, maybe specific roles. Maybe they're a specialist in 2 different areas. Awesome. 2 different roles, right? So it gives a lot of flexibility. The next one here, 3D Structure Creator, is another role. Exact same, scenario where you're a specialist in framing and sheet metal or structures, where you can go through and choose a profile from a library of standard different types and sizes. From there, export your cut list, right? That's what you want to do. You want to get this out to the saws and start cutting links and welding together. And this gets you there quickly. Next, we had the 3D Motion Creator on our list. I mean, this is an awesome video, awesome example, kind of a crowd pleaser. I know we have some projects coming through internally where we're leveraging this tool. We're checking robot reach. We're doing some, whether it's different animations for customer sign-offs. This is the tool that you'd be doing to validate your motion. Next, I mean, this one's fairly impressive, and it doesn't really show too much justice here, but I had just encouraged to jump on and dig deeper into 3D Pattern Shape Creator, XGenerative Design. Really, you're allowing your designers to design any shape or pattern using CATIA parametric modeling technology. And there's automation built into this too, which is just incredibly impressive. And we don't have the time to dig deep. Maybe this is an entire other webinar on its own. I know we're just doing a high-level overview, but being able to quickly generate simple to complex, non-regular shapes and patterns it's amazing. And again, we're talking about, these are extensions of SolidWorks, right? So you might still be working in SolidWorks, but you have a specialty. These are things that some of these apps you're just not capable to do inside of SolidWorks.
Absolutely. And just to mention on this one while we're here, and really for all of these all work together. So how I mentioned SolidWorks, and there's a little bit of refreshing there, but in terms of the xApps, they're working together right on the platform itself. So you're able to just jump between these. And for example, you're able to design geometry, say an xShape or xDesign, and you're able to use this algorithmic design here and maybe create a really cool surface texture or something for the surface itself or the geometry itself. Or as you can see here, you can create entire geometry in the 3D pattern shape creator. It's an approach on how you want to use the solution for your organization.
Yeah, so now I have my product. I've developed up the product through different apps or SolidWorks. Now what do you think I should jump into, Matt? We're all ready to go. We've gone through, done our mold design. We've gone through, created our different sheet metal components. What do you think's next?
Probably has something to do with marketing, I guess.
I'm thinking we're probably going to have to sell that product so that we can then make sales and grow our team and make, even cooler products and bigger impacts. And that's where 3D Render comes in, which the app itself is called XStudio, where you can easily create and share, those photorealistic renderings to promote your design. Again, think marketing, think sales. This is the ability to have your connected data right into your marketing team, or if you're the engineer and want to go through and maybe you're creating a pitch or a customer design review and you want to do some renderings, like this is the perfect tool to be doing that in, and it's all cloud-based.
Yeah, and just like you saw with the SolidWorks being refreshed and everything, that's a really handy thing with this is you can set up all of your environments and everything with your renderings. Your team makes some updates to the model itself. That's all tied back to the original data. So you're not going to have to start fresh and create all of those environments and backdrops and everything again. You're able to just update the geometry in these renderings and rerun the renderings. And another thing on top of that is these renderings are running on the cloud. So rendering is very typically a very hardware heavy process. You have to have all of the graphics power to do those renderings quickly and efficiently. Whereas with this cloud computing capabilities, you can really get these renderings up and running, especially for people that might not have the hardware already and can't justify the cost. They can just have the cloud computing to carry out the renderings for you.
Definitely, and this is something that even happened today, Matt. I keep going back to the data and how these apps all work together with SolidWorks, and it's kind of a seamless transition. You're pointing all to the same location of all your data. I was at lunch today and I had an idea that just kind of came to mind on a project that we're working through internally. I pulled up xDesign on my phone and I checked some clearances and to see if that bracket that I was thinking about would fit in that location. I just did that right on my phone. I didn't go through and design up or come up with any concepts. It was more or less me going through and validating if my idea would fit. Honestly, if I wouldn't have done it at that moment, my personality is I come up with all these different ideas, and if I'm not then logging it quick in a community or writing it down somewhere, I know I got a board in my office that's just ideas, right? If I think about it, I write it down, because if I don't, I'm going to forget about it, and then that good idea is gone. Where this gives me the access to all the data, I can check it quick. Maybe I'm not going to do it right at that time. I could, but maybe I'm not going to do it right then. But I'm going to maybe take a screenshot, write a note in a community and be like, hey, come back to this. This is an idea. What do you guys think? Yeah. And then someone can jump in and dig into more detail from there. But again, it's getting that idea into place. And that's what I like about these xApps. So again, we went through and we really quickly summarized 3D Creator, which is the role. And then that app is xDesign, where you can do some of your parametric design. 3D Sculptor, the app is going to be xShape. And that's where you do subdivisional modeling. 3D Sheet Metal Creator, which is xSheet I was thinking about this too. Back to the years that I spent in sheet metal design, we'd bring on interns at times, or we'd have flexible capacity that would come and go. And what I really like about some of these, whether it's 3DEXPERIENCE, SolidWorks, or even these xApps, is the flexibility side of it. Mm-hmm. We would have the ability to turn on a 3D sheet metal creator role for a summer to bring on an intern, right? Or have the ability to, we have someone on the manufacturing floor that it wants to get through, and they have a couple parts that they actually want to design up on their own, where they're not typically, that's not typically what they do, but they have a project that they want to do that on. Well, they can just have that role for a while. And then they can send it back over. There's a 30-day currently where they can have it for 30 days and then send it back. And that's really, you know, it's the flexibility side of these xApps as being an extension of SolidWorks. The 3D sheet metal creator, 3D mold creator, an XMold where you're doing your mold design, 3D structure creator, which the app is called XFrame, where you're doing your structure design, 3D motion creator, XMotion design, and then 3D pattern shape creator, which we talked about the generative design, just how impressive that is, and then 3D rendering, where you're doing some of your marketing renderings in XStudio.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just wanted to build a little bit on what you were saying with pulling it up on your phone, and that's another great powerful feature that shouldn't really be passed over, is the fact that SolidWorks data can also be opened up in xShape, xDesign, whatever app you want to have it opened in, it will open in. And it's the same reverse theory, where you're not going to be making changes to that SolidWorks data. You can build off of it. You can build a part in xDesign. But even being able to open up that SolidWorks data wherever you are on your phone, and it's browser-based, so you don't even have to have anything loaded into your phone. You don't have to have it stored on your phone. Wherever you are, if you have a connection, you can just log on, load up your SolidWorks data, show it to somebody you may be reviewing it to really quick. You can take those measurements and everything, make sure that you don't ever miss out on an idea like that. And it's just to reiterate that you're not just opening up any data that was created in these xApps. You can open up your SolidWorks data, if you have any on the platform, right within those xApps and do reviews right there.
Yeah, in all reality, I mean, yes, you can go through and do some of that design on your phone too, but I have a Surface Pro. And honestly, I'm going to design on my laptop. That's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to grab my Surface Pro and I'm going to open up xDesign and I'm going to do, my design on my laptop. It's got a touch screen. It's the flow works really well, as opposed to, doing too much of that design currently today on my phone. But the ability to take measurements, show it off, and then pull out my, Surface, which does, it can run SolidWorks, but I'm not going to run heavy, large assemblies or anything like I could in xDesign quickly.
Absolutely. So that's the very, very high view of the xApps themselves. And there's really just so much more to 3D Experience. I mean, if you're thinking about potentially utilizing these xApps, they can be paired, like we've been talking about SolidWorks, they can be paired with SolidWorks. They can be paired with other CAD applications. They can be paired with high-end simulation. They can be paired with manufacturing. And there's a really extensive solution here that we're not going to overwhelm you with teaching you everything right now. But that just kind of leads into what's up next. So with this, upon the end of this webinar, we'll send out an email with some summary information. You can reply to that email to schedule a call, and we can have a one-on-one chat with your processes, get to know what roles may be best for you, and talk through a little bit further of what else the platform is capable of. And if you just have any questions in regards to whether it's in regards to the xApps or beyond into 3D Experience in general, feel free to reply with those, and we'd be happy to get you any information on that. If you have any questions beyond that response email, you can just write down that phone number and email, and feel free to contact those at any time. Or if you head to our website, swiftsol.com, there's a contact page there as well. And we'll have some of these links down in the description below, so you'll be able to access them right from there.
I think it's obvious, Matt, from the pictures at the beginning that once we start talking 3D Experience SolidWorks, we see the vision, we see the future, and we're excited about it. So if you're curious and you're just looking and you're seeing 3D Experience around and you're just curious as to what's going on, we want to have that call because we're excited about just sharing and helping people learn about the platform.
Absolutely. Well, we're getting close to the 30 minutes here. Any closing words before we close out the recording?
Not at this point.
Alrighty. Well, have a good day, everyone, and be sure to contact us, and we'll be happy to walk you through your solutions.
Thanks for joining.
Bye.